For me personally, when I'm talking to clients, one of the biggest indicators I'm looking for that they're overcoming narcissistic abuse is that they stop telling the story. So the brain, when it's very traumatized by this particular type of emotional abuse, which is peculiar, it's particular to narcissism. Of course, all emotional abuse is terrible, but narcissistic abuse, I can't even sit here and tell you what the reasoning is. It seems to produce more bewilderment in the target than any other kind of abuse you can think of. And I can say, as a recipient, as a client of therapists dealing with narcissistic abuse, I know how this feels. Nothing is as bewildering, and nothing sets off this horrifying, psychological death spiral of why this? Why did they do this? Why did they do that? Then you become a detective, and then you become a keeper of files. So you're a detective, you're investigating, you're like the meme with the conspiracy guy with everything across the wall, and he's creating connections and connecting the dots between all these disparate events and seeing patterns where there are none, and he's trying to explain it. That's you. That's me under narcissistic abuse. You're keeping lists, you're keeping records, you're keeping dates, you're keeping files, emails. Jesus, I had folders with screenshots on my iPhone, like a crazy person, because I couldn't remember what the hell was going on, and I can't because I'm being gaslit to bits by somebody I love, God help me, and I'm also experiencing an effect of post-traumatic stress, which is memory loss. My brain, my body is just shutting down under the exposure to this amount of stress that I'm just not built to deal with, and I have memory loss, and I can't remember who said what to who, and then I'm walking out of arguments where I know I'm in the right, somehow turned upside down with some amazing judo throw, psychologically speaking, apologizing for stuff I didn't even do. And this happened again and again and again. So a sign that somebody's really overcoming narcissistic abuse is they stop telling that story. When we're coming out of narcissistically abusive relationships, we're obsessed with the story because we think the solution lies therein. Of course, once you've done the work, you realize there's no solution there, there's no problem there, there's no there, there's nothing there. The story could be anything. The story could be anything. It's all an illusion created by a lunatic who's dependent on an illusory simulation of reality for their survival. So picking through the pieces is neither here nor there. Even they can't keep up with their own lies. So there's no chance that you will be able to. Another sign that I've noticed, and I kept a note of for myself when I was recovering from a narcissistically abusive relationship, and I keep a note of with clients, is the amount of emotional intensity around the issue. When the central nervous system and the brain is activated by a perceived threat, it sends us into a heightened state of arousal to either fight or freeze or run away from the threat. And because of that, all of the emotion that is associated with that story, with that person, is heightened. So you can't really talk about it, and you can't really tell your story, you can't really say what happened without getting very, very emotional and very emotionally invested in it. So a sign of recovery is where the emotion goes down, and what's there in its place is a kind of peaceful acceptance and a sort of a calm indifference that shows that the human being has really, in some ways, and I mean this in the healthiest way possible, given up. There's a giving up that has to take place. You have to give up on the illusion. You have to give up on the shared fantasy. You have to give up on what was in order to get back to reality, because what was an illusion. The story is an illusion. The person is an illusion. Now, if you've not been through therapy, and you should go to therapy, and deal with a qualified professional who's experienced in narcissistic abuse for face-to-face sessions. You can't deal with all this stuff with just courses and books and YouTube videos. It's not possible, and it's not fair to you. It doesn't give you a fighting chance. You might still be asking questions like, but did they really love me? But was any of it real? And at that point, all of the answers you're seeking for will cause you pain, because you think you were with a person. And if you were with a person, a warm-blooded human being, and it wasn't real, then that's painful. And if you're with a person and you're with a warm-blooded human being and they told you they loved you but they didn't, that's painful. But if you accept a deeper reality, a more transcendent reality, if you accept the reality that's closer to the reality, it's not like I'm asking you to accept an alternative reality, it's the reality. The reality is there's no one there. There's no one there. There's an illusion inside of an illusion. Why was there so much drama? Why was there so much intrigue? Why were there so many fights? To distract you and to keep you from looking at the person and how empty they are. They've nothing to offer you. They never did, because they are not a they. They're not. They're just not. That's like as a philosophical dead end. They're not what? They are not. They are not. There's a lack of isness to them. That's why you don't get that when you do find a person, and you will in your future, and you're with a human again. You're like, oh, in the dark, I can feel them, and there's a person there. They're not perfect. They're not angelic. They're not demonic. It's not some hyper intense psychodrama or a Mexican telenovela every day. But there's a person there, reliable, authentic, real as real reality is, and not the illusion. So another sign of the person overcoming the narcissistic abuse is when this HPA axis of the brain, because there's a physical problems that come with this, physical symptoms that come with this, your brain becomes dysregulated, your threat perception system becomes dysregulated. It's the hypothalamus, pituitary and adrenal axis. For the sake of simplicity, let's say that this is heavily associated with your threat perception system. Let's call it the threat perception system. And it's become confused, it's scrambled. You don't know what's a threat and what isn't. And that is as a direct result of the narcissistic abusive relationship. So you come out of it hypervigilant, hypersensitive, unable to take jokes, unable to know what the subtle meaning of some nuanced communication is. You can start to wonder if you're somewhere on the spectrum for autism, because you don't understand normal human communication anymore unless it's made very literal and very simple for you. Be kind to yourself and be kind to other people. Give people a break by acknowledging, I right now, not forever, but right now, I'm in a lot of pain and I need help to heal. And I will heal, but I'm only going to heal when I acknowledge that I've been hurt. I have been hurt. I am now not acting and thinking in a normal way, and then you can recover. A very important indicator for me, this one, that a person is recovering from healing, is they go to therapy and they tell the therapist the truth. So if that's a client, they're regularly coming to see me, or they were when I used to see people, or they're regularly coming to see one of my coaches, and they're telling them the truth, and they're having open and honest communication and being vulnerable about all the shame and all the guilt and all the weird stuff that's in the relationship, all the boundary breaks that they've never allowed anybody to break before, that they did allow this person to break with them, all of that stuff. If you can do that, I would say this is a person who is on the road to recovery, or maybe even is pretty much healed. When I worry is when I see the opposite, denial. When I see somebody who's really struggling and they say, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. You okay? I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. I was like, yeah, you don't sound okay. When people are okay, they generally don't repetitively and robotically work hard with sweat on their brow to tell me that they're okay. That's usually an indication that somebody isn't feeling okay. And that's It's okay to not be okay. It's okay, like, we get hurt. We're human beings, we're fallible, we get hurt. In a way, when we go into denial and we deny that we're in pain, we've drunk the narcissist's cult Kool-Aid, and we're saying narcissistically, denying reality, that's a narcissistic trait, and I am invulnerable, that's also a narcissistic perspective. I don't need help. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. Yeah, people can, and that's good. I'm glad that they can hurt you, because that shows me that you're a human being. You had the courage to love. You had the courage to be vulnerable. You had the courage to open yourself up to intimacy. That courage this time was not rewarded. It was punished. But don't blame the courage, and don't blame love, and don't blame intimacy, and don't blame relationships. There are people out there who are very, very sick, and their sickness happens to align with a cultural moment that we're living in right now, that if it doesn't necessarily venerate narcissistic psychopathy, and sometimes our culture does, it certainly permits it. For sure we can say we are not living through a time where it's a cultural taboo to be narcissistic or psychopathic. One of my favorite signs to look for to see if somebody's healed or healing is when they take on new philosophical perspectives. You can feel it, you can hear it, you can see it. It's very hard for a client, or friends of mine, or like whoever, to fake new philosophical perspectives, to fake that they're approaching life with a fresh set of eyes. And, you know, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but recovery from narcissistic abuse really does require this level of deep change and deep work, whereby your whole perspective of reality does indeed need to change thoroughly. And that's a beautiful thing. Stop being mad at them. Stop being mad at the past. Stop being angry at God for this unfair situation you're in. You can choose to come out of this wiser and stronger and more grateful and with more humility and more passion and more structural integrity than you were before this thing happened. You were a less emotionally mature person when this happened, and it was, dare I say it, your, my, our little bits of emotional maturity, little bits of openness to, say, not turning it into a religious sermon, 7 deadly sins. Where was the gluttony? Where was the lust? Where was the pride? Where was the anger? Who were you trying to take revenge on? What were you trying to prove when you started this relationship? What was the shadow? What was the darkness in you that was appealed to with this demonic contract? I'm not victim shaming. What I'm looking for is for us to find our agency again. A bad thing happened. I'm not saying it takes 2 to tango. That is not true. Good people have bad things done to them for no reason except for the pleasure of others or the convenience of others all day, every day in this reality. However, we did have agency, and it is not healthy for us to sit back like jellyfish in a state of learned helplessness going, I didn't do anything and I could never have seen it coming. That might have been true if you were born into a narcissistic family, but it is not true if you found yourself with a narcissistic partner or stuck with a narcissistic boss or a narcissistic friend in adulthood. We should own as much as we can. Not because I want to burden you with more work or make you take more responsibility than you feel is yours, but because this is where power comes from. Responsibility, you could see as your ability to respond. More responsibility, the more capacity you have to respond, the stronger you are, the more able you are. I want you able. I want you strong. I don't want you calling yourself the survivor of narcissistic abuse until your dying day. I don't want you watching narcissism videos until your dying day. I don't want you in narcissistic communities for the rest of your life. I want you to get on with your life and enjoy it. The biggest sign of having healed from narcissistic abuse is a person who can, with gratitude and humility, get on with the rest of their lives and really enjoy it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time and for your attention with this video. If you're looking to overcome a narcissistic abusive relationship, we have a course for you. It's called Unplug from the Matrix of Narcissistic Abuse, and it's available from this link below. Thank you.